cheers and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul is unfortunately unavailable because it's a Wednesday and there is racing at Scottsville, so he is unavailable. But joining me shortly from his Fulham studio is our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Bram. And it's a change this weekend. We will be discussing the opening fixtures of the Scottish Premiership, the English League One, while I'll be going through the 4 MTNM quarterfinals, giving you my suggestions on each match. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Buzz.
It's coming home, but as you said, it never left.
No, this is true. Although it left to so they could pick it up and bring it back again. But no, good luck to them. They battled.
Yeah.
They were outplayed for long periods in the quarter-final by Sweden, by Italy in the first half, and certainly by Spain. But they dug in. They never gave up, and in the end, Chloe Kelly did what she does well, which is score winning goals. So yesterday they had something like 65,000 people turned up outside Buckingham Palace for a meet and greet, as it were. And good luck to them. They're not like sort of divas like you've got some of the men's footballers.
Yeah.
So. I think that just shows that there is obviously passion in this country for football.
I just think it's honesty that the fans want, Steve. And one thing with the ladies, they don't dive and cheat. I know there's a couple of dives and that, but they don't persistently cheat. And even afterwards, 1 or 2 tackles, but they were respected each other, and that's what I liked. It reminded me England's victory here of Argentina in the last World Cup. 2 penalty shootout victories, and I couldn't believe the stat that England had only led for 4 minutes in the knockout stages. I found that amazing. Yeah,
I know, crazy.
But good luck to them. I hope they get well rewarded. They deserve it. And as I said, good luck to the Lionesses. Steve, transfer news and Alexander Isak. What is the latest coming through?
Well, he's made it sort of fairly clear, I think, that he would like to, as he says, to sort of look at other options, which basically sort of says, I'd like to leave. There is a release clause, so we understand, which is huge, but Liverpool, there aren't many takers out there. I think Liverpool seem to be the favourites that, but this could run for a few weeks. Yeah. I don't think Newcastle would be keen to let him go unless they could find a replacement for sure. But, it's just, look, there's no loyalty anymore, as we know. He came over a couple of years ago. He has no real loyalty. I mean, if ever there was a time that you think he would want to stay, they've just won a trophy for the first time in a generation. They're in the Champions League. But he obviously wants to sort of move on to the next level, and Liverpool probably is.
Yeah, what amazes me, if he'd come out last season and said, guys, thank you, I'd like to go try elsewhere, I would accept it. I'm sure the Geordie fans would. But it was just overnight that he turned his back on the club. And if I'm them, I'm looking at their Saudi brothers, obviously got family contacts over there, and say, we'll offer 180 million. Liverpool match it and you can have him. And then let's see what happens. But I think it'll leave a sour taste in the mouth, especially for the Geordies. Yeah, Steve, I saw Aaron Ramsdale signed for Newcastle on loan.
Yeah, on loan with an option to buy. So it does, and I think it does mean the question mark over Nick Pope. Yeah. He's had some injury problems, but I suspect that Ramsdale's been brought in. Eddie Howe knows him. He had him at Bournemouth.
That's right.
So I would think that he will be the number one. I'd be surprised if he went there without being number one. And maybe Nick Pope is available. And I saw this morning linked with United. Who I think are still, a lot of people still think that Onana is not good enough to be the number one on a regular basis.
Yeah, and I'm one of them. Steve, the more interesting thing about United, I saw Ollie Watkins, they're trying to do a deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Ollie Watkins, a year or so ago, on the back of his Euros, was hot property, but he didn't make the starting 11 all the time for Villa last year. Yeah. He's 29. They want something like about 40-45 million, which, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge price. And you just think that United, they've got Højlund, but he just doesn't score the goals. So I think that's something. Whether or not Villa were prepared to let him go unless they could get a replacement, I don't know, because Chelsea also are linked with Morgan. You know, they're so it's something that could run for a little while. But I think he played with Brian Mbumo, as we know, at Brentford, and he came out yesterday, Brian Mbumo, and saying Watkins is the complete player. So obviously, giving some trying to give him a bit of push in the right direction, as it were. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's something that could happen. I think he's a little unsettled maybe at Villa because he wasn't the sort of regular starter every week.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good signing for United. I know the lure of not playing European football, that's what everyone's hanging over his head. But you can't look past Man United. And also, 1 year out, I think it's a great chance for United to clear all the dead wood, get the club back on track. And I think if we can get him and a decent goalkeeper, Steve, I think we'll be top 6. But let's see what happens. Anyway, Steve, we're going to start with the Scottish Premiership, which begins this weekend. We'll have all the games, or several of them, on ESPN here. But first game up, we got Kilmarnock against Livingston, Steve. I'm all over the home team. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that you look at the stats and last season, I think that they will be too strong for Livingston. So I think those odds look about right.
Yeah, I was going to make them my best bet, but I've got one other. But and also, they're the only team left, I think, that plays on an artificial pitch. So I think that's a major positive in the camp. Motherwell Rangers. Now, Rangers play in the Champions League tonight. Got a mate, Stewie McGregor, whose nephew is in the squad. He played against Man United in the Europa League last year. Young Finlay Calder, I think his surname is. 4-10, Steve. I know after a big game on Wednesday night, if they get knocked out, this could be trouble for Rangers. But obviously, if they win,
yeah, I mean, they take a 2-goal lead to Greece. They've been backing Russell Martin in the transfer window. He's brought in some new players. I think they should be favourites to win this. Whether or not 4-10 is the right sort of, is maybe a bit short, but I think they'll be favourites to win this. I'm not sure necessarily that they're going to be quite strong enough to catch Celtic, but I think they'll give it a bit of a go. There's also talk that Mikey Moore of Tottenham could be going to Rangers on loan to give him some experience. So he'll score goals up there in Scotland if he goes. He's young. Yeah. It's a very physical league, and I think that would be a good test for him. Yeah. So we'll see. But for me, I think Rangers definitely favourites.
Yeah, just 4-10 Glasgow Rangers, not for me, but they should obviously win. Falkirk, who were promoted last year as champions, up against the Dundee United side, who've been competing in the Europa Conference League. They play on Thursday night, Steve. Is that a major plus for the Falkirk?
Well, I'm surprised that the odds are such that Falkirk seem to be clear favourites. Dundee United had a strong finish. I was watching their manager being interviewed yesterday, and they've had quite a few comings and goings. Yes. But he said he's been very pleased with the way they played. They got a good draw in the first leg in Europe last week. So for me, I think that's quite a good value bet.
Yeah, obviously first week's a bit difficult, but 29-10, they finished 4th. Falkirk got promoted, but obviously they were playing Thursday night is obviously the reason the bookies have drifted them. On to our second page, and there's another team involved in Europe, and that's, we've got it back to front here. It's Dundee against Hibs, Steve. Dundee, finished 10th last year, but Hibs are in Europe. They drew 1-1 with Midtjylland, and they play Thursday night, so it should be a good game.
Yeah, I mean, Hibs sort of finished quite strong last season, so because they'd had a really poor start. For me, I could see Hibs getting something there, definitely.
All right, top of the page here, we've got champion Celtic against St Mirren. Surely this has got to be a walk in the park?
Yeah, look, it is the first game, but you can't see anything past a convincing Celtic win. I mean, you think that a couple of weeks ago they had a crushing 4-0 win against Newcastle. Yeah. Obviously, Newcastle had only just got back into pre-season. Celtic had been a couple of weeks prior. But no, I think Celtic would be way too strong for St Mirren.
Yeah, no doubt. 1-5 should be in all your multiples. And then we've got Hearts against Aberdeen Monday night. Aberdeen also, I think, no, they haven't been. They're not involved in Europe. Sorry, I got it mixed up. But they played Ipswich in a friendly, got well beat. Give Hearts a chance here, Steve?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is probably one of the closest games. I mean, both these teams, tend to sort of be hovering around that 3rd, 4th place behind sort of Celtic and Rangers. I think Hearts would be favourites as they're at home, but it should be a decent game.
Yeah, Monday night, so we'll have that on ESPN. On to the English League One. We have discussed the Dundee versus Hibernian clash. On to the English League One, and a team that's been relegated 2 successive years, Luton Town. Just trying to read up, Steve. Obviously, the friendlies, it's hard to digest, but that's a massive fall, isn't it? Premiership to League One?
Absolutely, and I don't think anybody expected that last season because they actually were putting in some creditable performances in the Premier League, and with a relatively similar squad. I mean, they didn't lose too many players. It just all went wrong. They changed their manager, but it didn't work. But he's still there, Matt Bloomfield. Yeah. They are the bookies' favourites to go straight back up. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a good season. I expect them to be too strong on the opening night. They start on the Friday, I think.
Yeah, they play AFC Wimbledon, who were promoted via the playoffs, so that's normally a bad sign for the promoted team. But Luton to win by more than 1 goal is 14-10. I didn't include it in my bets, but I will be backing that on Friday. Second game, a disappointing side, Cardiff City, Steve, relegated from the Championship against a Peterborough team managed by Darren Ferguson. Can you see an upset?
Yeah, look, they're a funny side, Peterborough. You're never quite sure what you're going to get from them. Yeah. They always seem to be sort of challenging at some point and then fall away. Cardiff are, again, one of the favourites to go back up, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one, but I think it would be quite close.
Aaron Ramsey, he was involved. I think he's a shareholder with them. Is he going to play?
Not sure. I mean, whether or not, it's a 46-game season, so it's a lot. So, it might be that he's selective about sort of playing.
Okay. On to Blackpool at home against Stevenage. Man United hero Steve Bruce. He's the manager there, and I expect them to get off to a winning start here, Steve. They're always hard at Bloomfield Road to beat. I think they'll be too good for Stevenage. What do you think?
No, I agree, and I think that he's brought in 1 or 2 players, and I think that I think they're looking to make a bit of a challenge this year, get themselves back up into the Championship. So for me, I think a home win.
Yeah, definitely there. Next game, Steve, I think the betting's the wrong way around. I know Bradford got promoted last year. They did finish 3rd. But Wickham had a good season. They finished 5th and only got knocked out, by Charlton, who were promoted. I think the wrong way around here, Steve. I fancy Wickham. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I mean, Wickham have come close, for a couple of seasons. I'm not sure whether they've been able to keep their squad intact, but Bradford. Again, they were out of the. They've been in League 2 for a long time, so I think this could be the sort of game we could cancel each other out. Wouldn't be surprised.
All right, that was Mark Hughes' side, Bradford. Well, he was there for a while, wasn't he? Yeah, the guy who played more games for any. Graham Alexander, the man I think who's had the record amount of appearances for my boys Preston. He's in charge of Bradford. On to my second page, and we've got Burton Albion against Mansfield Town. How do you see it going?
Yeah, this should be a close game because Nigel Clough was at Burton for a while now. Obviously, he's at managing Mansfield Town. I think Burton had a good run at the end of last season. They were struggling and they really picked themselves up. Mansfield, the other way around, they started really well but then fell away. Yeah. I think this would be a close game. I think Burton at home might just have the edge though. Okay, yeah, close game, a draw, whichever way you want in the exotics. Doncaster Rovers, Steve, against an Exeter team. I couldn't believe this. So the only club owned by the fans. I was amazed when I read that. Yeah. But got to fancy the home team. Yeah, I fancy the home team. I think Doncaster, maybe slight favourites. I'd expect them to get a result. Yeah, Doncaster in all my bets. Huddersfield Town, I went for them several times last year, Steve. They let me down, especially towards the end. Leighton Orient did great, but unfortunately went out in the playoffs. Which way are you going here? This game's got me confused. Yeah, I mean, Huddersfield, really disappointing. I mean, I think a lot of people thought that they would get themselves back up into the Championship, and they really fell away. Leighton Orient, on the other hand, had a really good run at the end, got themselves into the playoffs, got into the final, lost to Charlton. I think Huddersfield will start as favourites, but it'd be interesting to see, I mean, whether or not Leighton Orient can sort of carry on the sort of run as they did last year.
Yeah, close game. I went both teams to score at 8-10. I sat on the fence in that particular clash. Steve, Lincoln 9-10 at home against a Reading team who actually had a great end to the season. 5-2 is a big price, Steve. They only finished a couple of points outside the playoff places.
Well, it is, and actually what's happened is in the close season, just at the end of the last season, their share ownership was resolved because they had an owner basically that was failed the sort of fit and proper test. So they have new owners now. I don't think they've been able to throw much money at it, but I would think that Reading will have a decent season. So those are fairly good odds.
Yeah, 5-2. It's just first game of the season. It's hard. You can make an absolute fool of yourself. But 5-2, I'll be having a dip at that. On to our final page in League One, and we got Plymouth, after Wayne Rooney, they've got another Man United manager, Tom Cleverley from Watford. How do you see them going against Barnsley, Steve?
Yeah, I think, well, this will be a test for them. Barnsley are a decent side who have sort of been up and down themselves. But I think this is a good appointment with Tom Cleverley. I mean, he was popular at Watford, obviously not with the owners, but Plymouth, interesting that they brought in their new manager partway through last season, who made a real fist of it, and in the end it was pretty close. But they obviously decided they needed somebody different for the battle to get back up, and I think Tom Cleverley will take Plymouth up. For me, I think they're definitely one of the favourites to go back up.
All right, so I can include even money Plymouth in a couple of Saturday bets then, Steve. I'll take your word for it. Rotherham against Port Vale. Port Vale, I couldn't believe it was on Betfair. They're tipping him to go straight down. I like that manager, Darren Moore. He went there and he got them promoted. Rotherham, you never know, Steve. How do you see it, though? Yeah.
No. Yeah, I mean, at home, Rotherham, you'd think would be too strong. Port Vale had a really good season last season. And as you say, Darren Moore is, fairly uncompromising defender, wasn't he? So, I think they make themselves hard to beat. But I think Rotherham rightly start as favourites.
12-10, another game I'll have to consider. Wigan versus Northampton. Wigan have taken the ex-Preston manager, was it Robert Lowe? Ryan Lowe, yeah. So we'll see.
Lowe.
Yeah, they ended up quite well, but Northampton, I can't catch the cobblers. Every time I used to back them, both teams to score, they got beat or whatever. But I fancy Wigan here, Steve. Am I on the right track?
I think so. I was looking at the odds, and Northampton are one of the favourites to go down. Okay. So I think home win is probably the way to go. Yeah.
This at Wigan, I've never caught them, but 12-10 inviting. And Sunday lunchtime kickoff, Stockport County against Bolton. Both of these sides, Steve, are expected to be involved in automatic promotion. Which way are you siding, though?
Yeah, this would be a really good game. I think they're quite evenly matched. Stockport, since they've come up from the National League, have really acquitted themselves well. Bolton, maybe a little bit disappointing. I think a lot of people thought Bolton would get themselves back into the Championship, but they haven't quite done it. I think maybe I'd sort of just go with the home side, but I think I can see this being a close game.
Yeah, I think this has got 1-1 written all over it. That's what I'm going to be having. It'll be like 6-7-1. Bolton, but several of my mates live in Chorley, which is on the outskirts of Bolton. They've taken me there a few times. The wheels fell off last year, Steve. They thought they were guaranteed a playoff place. I think it was 6 or 7 games they never won, and they fell off. This year they're confident. They think they're going to go close. But Stockport County, as you said, they've had a good run. And this thing is going to be tight, but I just think it's got a draw written all over it, 27-10. Steve, pressure time as always. Yeah. I think I know who you won, but your best bet and value bet.
You mentioned it right at the beginning. I'm going on Kilmarnock as my best bet. And my value bet, I was thinking of Reading, but I might go for Dundee United. I just think that they've had a decent end to the season, and I'd just be surprised that they've made a promoted team favourites for this one.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick in Sweden. I was fortunate to get the money on Monday night. I went for Elfsborg to beat IFK Gothenburg. They scored 2 goals in injury time to win 4-3. I'm all over IFK Gothenburg. I think they'll be too good. And I'm going for Wickham, Steve. I know it's hard first time out. I hummed and hawed. There were several of them, as you said, Reading. And I just thought, you know what, let me just take a chance on Wickham. I know they haven't lost many players. They're a deep squad. And 18-10, I think it's a decent price. Steve, thanks as always. Next week, it's Championship.
Yeah.
So, plenty of things to talk about. And hopefully there's a few more transfers.
I would think that over the next couple of weeks, things are going to start hotting up. We always say this: once one or two start to move, then obviously it becomes
domino effect.
Definitely, but it's still the big boys, isn't it? I mean, City have done most of their business. Liverpool, I think, Isak will probably be the last. There'll be players going. I mean, this is the thing. We know that they're going to have to release, same as United. United want to buy, but they're looking to sell. And Chelsea as well. Chelsea just seem to just keep carrying on, looking to they're trying to bring in the centre half from Ajax. It's linked with all sorts of players, but again, they'll have to ship quite a few out off the wage bill, which smaller clubs like ourselves, it wouldn't be at all surprised we'll pick somebody up from one of the big boys on loan.
Steve, off the cuff, my mate at Rangers, Stu McGregor, his nephew Finley, I think his surname is Calder. He played against Man United in the Europa League where Bruno scored the last minute. And there's a photo of him talking to Garnacho. And the guys asked him, "What did you say?" He said he asked him, "Can I have my shirt?" Said to Garnacho, "Can I have your shirt after the game?" And Garnacho replied, "The only way you'll get my shirt is if you buy it at the superstore." So the youngsters, the young Finley wanted his shirt. Garnacho told him what to go and do. I thought it was hilarious when my mate told me. But I think Garnacho is one of them at Old Trafford.
Interestingly enough, Luke Shaw, I don't know if you said, Luke Shaw was interviewed yesterday, and he was making comments. He was making comments basically to say that it's a very tight squad at the moment, and so it's implying that the players that we know have been left out had attitude issues, and that things seem to be a lot calmer. So and Garnacho is one of them. Yeah. So you just don't know behind the scenes what goes on, but you think on his day Garnacho is a match winner, but the fact that they're prepared to let him go, you're not quite sure whether he's a fairly disruptive influence behind the sines. So.
Yeah. At the end of the day, Steve, you want men in your team. You don't want kids. They get given all the money and all the fame and glory, and they act childishly, and you walk, and it's a man's game at the end of the day. So, but I think Amarin's got everything under control. He needs backing, but obviously there's been so many poor signings prior. Getting rid of them is going to be a major problem. But we need a good Man United. Otherwise, I'll walk into the pub and get abused by everybody. So let's hope a couple of weeks' time things improve. But Steve, thanks as always, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Pleasure. Talk to you next. Yeah.
Cheers, Steve. All the best. Yeah, on to the MTN8, and it's quarter-final time on the weekend. And one thing I do like, I know in our day the names were drawn out of a hat, so even if we won the league at City, we could play one of the top teams, where nowadays it's 1 against 8, 2 against 7. And the first game up, we've got Orlando Pirates against Polokwane. The game is at Orlando City. I had a look at the outright betting with 7-10 Mamelodi Sundowns and 2-1 Pirates. The bookies only make it a match race, Polokwane, I think I'll give them a game. I know away from home they weren't the best, and Orlando, the Buccaneers at Orlando Stadium, but I think this is going to be a lot tighter than expected. I know Pirates got beaten in the semi-final of the CAF Champions League by Pyramids, but I just know 4-10 is very short for me. I know they should get through. In the exotics, I went 1 and 2, but I wouldn't be taking 4-10 Orlando Pirates, even though I think they will go through. Sekhukhune against TS Galaxy. The game is being played in Polokwane. I like what I see from Sekhukhune, but another game. This is going to be tight. They are neighbours. So a game, I think both teams to score no or under 2.5 goals is the right play. I haven't seen the odds. They were not yesterday. But of the two teams, I like TS Galaxy. I've liked what I've seen. Sekhukhune, I don't know the changes, but 5-2 the draw looks the right way to go. I fancy Stellenbosch at home. The only problem is it's been played at the Cape Town Stadium. There's been a lot of traffic on there, especially the rugby games, so the surface may not be too good. AmaZulu, you never know. They ended up the season winning only 2-9. The only away game they did win was against local rivals Golden Arrows. 6-10 Stellenbosch is short, but of the two sides, I fancy Steve Barker's side. And Mamelodi Sundowns against Richards Bay. The last 14 league games that the Brazilians had at home, they won all 14, conceding only 3 goals. 1-3 should be in all your multiples. They are a class act. Unfortunately, They did lose the CAF Champions League final to Pyramids, but they played well in the World Club. The best team by street, and 1-3 definitely looks a good price. On to our exotics for Saturday, and the first one up, I've thrown the draw in with Orlando Pirates against Polokwane City. I'm chancing Blackpool at home to beat Stevenage. Going win and draw as a balance. I'm going for Mansfield Town win and draw against Burton Albion. Huddersfield Town win and draw against Leyton Orient. Wigan Athletic win and draw against Northampton. If I was going to bank in the draw here, but Sekakuna, it's a 1-2-3, so Sekakuna in the draw, 192. On to our second soccer six. I'm going Wycombe Wanderers to avoid defeat against Bradford City. Bankering Doncaster Rovers to beat Exeter City. The field in the Lincoln City versus Reading game. I'm going Plymouth Argyle to avoid defeat at home against Barnsley. The field in the Rotherham versus Port Vale clash. And I'm going for Rangers to beat Motherwell 2-1-6. On to the soccer 10. I've thrown the draw in as well with the Orlando Pirates against Polokwane. Bankering Bromma Podgana to beat IFK Norrköping and Kilmarnock to beat Livingston. I'm going Westerlo win and draw in the Belgium game against Zulte Wear game, and bankering Young Boys of Bern to be too good in the Swiss Super League for FC Winterthur. On to the second page, I'm going the field in the Norwegian match between Sarpsborg and Brann. The field in the Sekakuna United versus TS Galaxy Cup game. Going for Servette win and draw against St Gallen, and Standard Liège to avoid defeat at home against FCW Denda, and bankering Rangers to beat Motherwell 288. On to the tricky soccer 13. On Saturday, I'm bankering Gays Gothenburg to beat IFK Vanamo. St Vikens to be too good at home for RK Brage. Going for Carlsberg to avoid defeat at Gefle. Banking Young Kopping Sodra to beat FC Rosengard. Norby win and draw at Angels home. Sarpsborg to avoid defeat at home against Brann, and bankering Tromsø to beat Fredrikstad. On to the second page, I've got two away bankers. I'm chancing Wycombe Wanderers to beat Bradford City and Mansfield Town to beat Burton Albion. Siding with Reading to avoid defeat at Lincoln City. And 3 home win and draws. Rotherham United against Port Vale, Plymouth Argyle against Barnsley, and Wigan Athletic against Northampton Town, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. And the first game up is a Scottish Premiership squad. I'm going Kilmarnock to beat Livingston. Over 2.5 goals and both teams to score. No, it was 23-10. I thought it was a great price. Celtic against St Mirren. And then both teams to score. And the Falkirk Dundee United and Hearts Aberdeen fixtures, 3,600 to 200. On to the English League One, and I'm going Blackpool to beat Stevenage and over 2.5 total goals. Going Doncaster to beat Exeter City, and going for Wycombe Wanderers to win at Bradford City, 3,200 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Cardiff Peterborough, Huddersfield Leyton Orient, Wigan Northampton, and Stockport Bolton, 2,000 to 200. On to Sweden, and I've done a nice treble there. I'm going over 2.5 goals. Both teams to score, no. This is at 29-10, which I've already jumped into. That's the Djurgårdens versus Halmstad game. I'm going over 2.5 total goals in the IFK Vanama versus Gothenburg fixture. And my best for the weekend, I'm going for IFK Gothenburg to beat Degerfors, 2,200 to 200. On to Norway, where I'm going for Tromsø to beat Fredrikstad and over 2.5 total goals. Bodo Glimt to win by more than 1 goal against HamKam. And then I'm going both teams to score in the Molde Bern and Vålerenga versus Sandefjord games, 2,600 to 200. And our Collis King 6 on Exa. I'm going Kilmarnock to beat Livingston. Glasgow Celtic to beat St Mirren, Blackpool to beat Stevenage, Djurgårdens to beat Halmstad, IFK Gothenburg to beat Degerfors, and Bodo Glimt to beat HamKam, 2,400 to 200. It's now getting better with the games that we can watch. Sadly, that the Swedish, Norwegian, Americans will slowly be on the back burner. But next week it's the English Championship and the PSL starts as well. So until next weekend, please remember to stay on side.